there were some latecomers. I didn't because see, I don't see everybody on my screen because the caption takes up most of my screen. Anyway, call to the meeting, please. Kara, do the
Sure.
roll call.
Sure. Linda Baker,
Here.
Luke Barber,
Here.
Dawn Chapman,
Here.
Sarah Coyle, I see her on the list. Hey, Sarah.
Sarah, unmute yourself.
She's showing on the list. There she
I'm
goes.
sorry. Here, can you hear me now?
I can. Thank you.
Here, sorry.
That's all right. Dave Forrest, I do not think is on. Howard Hayes.
Here.
Okay. Linda Johnstone.
Here.
Oh, Linda snuck in there. Okay. Josh Lewis.
Here. Oh, just an FYI, I think I know David's son, Patrick, passed away
Oh.
recently. So,
Oh.
yeah. I'm friends with his son and daughter. His son, Patrick, had spina bifida.
Oh.
And I don't know what his daughter has, but she walks with a crutch and she has a shunt. I've known them since I was in third grade with Katie, the sister. But,
Oh. Okay. Stephanie McDowell. I don't think Stephanie's on. Sue Orton, she knew she was gonna, she sent me an email this morning that she wasn't gonna be able to make it, and she sends her apologies. Cheryl Rose.
Here.
And then Sarah Swigel, I presume, continues to take a break from the group, but that does give us 8, so we do have a quorum.
Thank goodness. Okay, so moving on to business. Approval, we have 2 different sets of meetings. I'm going to start with November. Any comments or review of November meetings that need to be changed? I don't hear any or see any. So I'm going to ask for a vote on the approval of November's meeting. I'll say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay. So November meetings are approved. We move on to January. Please review if there's any comments that need to be changed. This is the time to do it. Okay. I make a motion to approve the minutes. I'll say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any nays? Okay, January meeting has approved. Moving on to Chairperson Report. Some of you, I think most of you already know that Stanley Brown has passed away. I went to his funeral, and I learned a lot about Stan that I didn't know about, and he was very given to his community. I knew him in the capacity of executive director of the Paralyzed Veterans of America, but I think I knew him before that, but I can't recall. He did a lot for the community, And apparently he was quite the joker. He always liked to do plants, and he had quite a sense of humor. And in his youth, he performed in plays. He was a theatric person. So it was very interesting to learn different parts of Stan that I didn't know. Gave me a more appreciation of Stan. I know him being as a member, he will always keep my foot to the fire or feet to the fire to make sure that buildings were accessible, including the county council room. So I'm going to miss him. And so I like to have a moment of silence for him. Thank you. Moving on. I would like to, I don't have much on my report, and maybe we can hold on to what I want to know, which is the follow-up on the county UD task force. So I can either hear from Howard now, or we can wait till we go under old business. Which would you like to do, Howard?
I have, and I apologize, it's something that I did not know. As you know, a lot of this has been assigned to the deputy, Mark Peoples, as well as Amy Ellis, who's the director of community development. And they're struggling trying to get into the meeting now. They're not receiving updates. I thought they would receive them temporarily while they were having a special assignment.
Is it okay for me to email Amy? Or
Amy and Mark, if you could.
who is the other person? Oh, Mark.
Mark Peoples.
Mark
Yes.
Peoples.
What kind of updates are you talking about, Mr. Howard?
Regarding coordination of various departments and feedback they may have.
Oh, okay. From the county end of, not from us.
Right, from the county end.
Oh, okay.
From the other department ends.
And Mr. Hayes, I think that was my fault. I'm the one that informs IT who needs to be invited to the meeting. So I think that was something I wasn't aware of. Would you like me to continue in the future, include Mark and Amy at every
Yes.
meeting until you tell me otherwise?
Yes.
Okay.
Or until we decide we've moved far enough along.
Okay, and then I'll right now forward them an email with the attendee information, see if they can, I don't know that they'll be able to get in there with that, but I'll give it a try.
Okay. Do you mind if I call Mark, because he's trying, and let him know that, and let Mark know that something's coming?
Yeah,
he's
sure.
calling me now, 1 second.
Okay.
Let's see.
Is he having a private conversation with Mark or sharing it? I wasn't sure.
Hey, Carol,
Yes, sir.
I just spoke with Mark. He said they couldn't get in, but I said, no worries, you're trying to get him an invitation now.
Yeah, and I'm gonna send it. I'm sending it right now.
Okay.
So while we're waiting for Mark to
Until
get
they're
in,
able to join us, maybe?
while we're waiting for him to
Look, are
get
you
in.
comfortable moving with the agenda while they try to enter? You'll know when they enter, right, Carol?
Yes, we'll see them.
Okay.
Since you're not listed.
As long as they are given the attendee link, they can join as an attendee, and I can make them a panelist. So just make sure they get that link. What are the names of the people who will be joining?
Amy,
Ellis?
go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, Amy Ellis and Mark Peoples.
Okay, Amy Ellis was in as an attendee. I just made her a panelist, so she should be able to participate now.
Okay.
This is Amy. I think Mark is still trying to get in.
I just sent the email. Okay, Matt, where are you seeing, should attendees show up under that participant list, right?
They will. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of the participant list, you will see attendees. Currently, there are 0 attendees, so nothing is.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Now, however, Amy Ellis was under the attendees until I
And
put
you
her
moved
in
her
as a
over.
panelist.
Okay, I'll keep my eye on that. And I will continue to include those folks in this meeting setup.
Okay, and has Mark got in?
Not yet.
Okay, well, but we have Amy, correct?
Yes.
Okay, Amy, I don't know if you heard me, but I was asking for a follow-up on the county UD task force. We was wondering what the situation is.
Right. So I was able to get in touch with the 2 members of the Building Code Review Committee who looked at the one pager that you had provided to us. And their concerns, as predicted, were costs that would be associated with the mandated requirements as opposed to, in the resolution it's encouraged, but through an ordinance it would be mandated. So the costs that would be associated with that, they thought 30% in the privately financed portion of it, where developments of 20 units or more, 30% would need to have the 13 basic UD features. They thought 30% seemed.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Was it Mark Peoples? Was he the one?
Yes.
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 Okay, he's in.
Thank you.
So that was the major feedback, was that the costs, of course, there'd be concerns about, and that the 30% seemed high, and that that by mandating it makes things more difficult, for the home builders, obviously. And so their encouragement is to keep it as a resolution, and maybe go about some different ways of getting information out there, making people aware of the need for universal design features, and again, maybe working through the permitting process to possibly get the information to make sure that UD features are being incorporated into developments. And that was the main takeaways so far.
Amy, this is Cheryl.
Yes.
So if they think that I know their ultimate recommendation is, to keep it as a resolution, but were that
Right.
not be the case? Did they have a percentage that they thought was more workable? Did they have features that they thought were any suggestions for some compromise or some change in the features that would make this more workable or anything like that?
They did not have, they did not make a suggestion in terms of, you know, if 30% was too high, what would be unacceptable. So I have sent back to them that exact request because I was thinking the same thing, you know, what would be a reasonable amount, as well as asking for additional feedback on the specific features included on that list. So, so like I said, that was kind of like their knee-jerk reactions to the one pager, and I have requested more specific information if they can provide it. So I should have that next month.
All right. Thank you.
Is it possible that you can follow up on that and see what are the
Yes, I've already followed up.
design requirements that could be implemented? And the cost feature, I've heard everything from 5% to 25%. So I think it's, what I'm getting from that, it depends on what you're looking for, you know, like the house that we saw in Ladue. Well, that's, of course, high scale, but we're just looking at making the features so people can get in and out of their home and use the kitchen and the restroom. I guess I'm looking for what is the minimum features that will be workable.
I did follow up already asking them, you know, for the percentages and stuff, but I will follow up with them asking that specific question as well.
And another reason why I'm also in favor of sort of this, Luke, why resolution doesn't really work versus the ordinance is that it has to have those teeth. People aren't going to do it if it doesn't have an enforcement method.
And I agree with.
And what is problematic is currently a lot of the accessible and affordable housing is pocketed in various areas of the county, but they're in very specific like neighborhoods. It is very much due to the historic redlining. And it's very obvious that it exists. And so in order for us to be able to expand outwards, which is what we're trying to do so that people can actually choose where to live, rather than being told you have to live in a certain neighborhood, is very significant.
This is Josh. Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can ask a question, Josh.
Okay. Did anybody at, what was it, community development and building design or something like that? What were the companies and the departments?
It was the Building Review Commission.
Building Review Commission. Did anybody ask them what historically it cost to wire a house with electricity or running water or sewers, back when those were originally deemed as for the, you know, the, by our standards, the Ladue folks. Because I imagine having electricity in a house 100 years ago was unique, or 120 years ago was unique. Same with running water. Now there might be different in various pockets like New York, Boston, maybe California, wherever. But, you know, up until the 30s and 40s, there were parts of the middle of the country that didn't have running water, they didn't have clean roads or decent roads. So I'm just curious, did anybody ask them about that? Did anybody have any data regarding that? Because certainly those prices are incorporated into new home design. Any home design, really, because nobody's going to live in a house without heating and air conditioning and running water and electricity. So
I think what I like to see, excuse me, Luke, I'm trying to piggyback from what Luke said, and that is, when community development gives funding for affordable housing, and if somebody makes it universal design, how do they incorporate that cost and what are the standards? And I believe they're the same standards that I've forgotten the name of the state group in Missouri.
MHDC,
Yes.
Missouri
And,
Housing Development.
there are some principles. So I like to, and I want to also piggyback what Luke said. The reason that we took the step in looking at an ordinance versus a resolution, we haven't made much progress, and resolutions can't really be enforced. It's just like, this is our recommendation. With an ordinance, it has some authority to say so many dollars could go to universal design. So I like to see how we can work together, because you're already doing it with some affordable housing, and this is, and other municipalities across the country have enacted an ordinance, and it seems to be working. So you know, when the task force meets, do you have representation from our county commission as well as the commission of older adults? Have you had an actual meeting to discuss all this?
The BCRC is actually under, well, I don't know if staffed is the right word, but they are not fully, I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for. They currently only have 2 positions filled out of a 7-member board. So they haven't been having meetings because they don't have a quorum. But I reached out to the 2 members that are in place, that are sitting on the board. I reached out to them individually. Belinda, you mentioned other communities with a UD ordinance. I'd be happy to do some research if you knew which, did you have specific communities in mind?
So
I know that Shara and the UD task force has done some work on that. Josh, I believe you did some work. Is this, I'm looking at my task force to see.
we actually were able to get records from 2 of the cities that have an ordinance. One is Pima, Arizona.
Okay.
And the other is Bolingbrook, Illinois.
In Illinois, okay.
And what's interesting is both of these, I believe, actually survived court challenges to them.
Okay.
And were
Great.
upheld in court.
Okay, let me jump in here. This is Cheryl. This Pima County, Arizona, has a visibility ordinance. It doesn't go as far as our ordinance. It was upheld in court. The city of Bolingbrook also has a visitability ordinance that doesn't go as far as our ordinance. It's been in place for 20 years. It has not been challenged in court. We have been trying to get information from builders in that area who build in the city of Bolingbrook and who build outside the city of Bolingbrook to find out what the difference in cost is between similar or the same floor plans. We have not been able to get that yet. We're still working on that. The information I have gotten about prices is that the biggest, initially there is a cost for them to, have their architects make new floor plans, train staff, maybe different grading in order for the stepless entry, etc. So there's going to be some initial costs that are going to be associated with it. I don't know how much money that is, but the biggest apparently cost is the stepless entry because of grading issues. It can run from zero amount to more depending on the lot and the whatever. So, I mean, I think there's some workarounds for that because number one, not every house in the subdivision has to have a stepless entry. And secondly, if the whole development is that it's too expensive to make a stepless entry, they can ask for waivers. So that's one thing. The other thing is I wanted to ask Amy, the resolution applies to any property that's getting county funds. Is that correct? Or public funds? And
Right,
is
that's
Correct.
and that's the
Yes,
requirement, right? It's not a choice. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have an exhibit in our loan agreements with our home funds that outlines the UD requirements.
Right. So property is already being built to those requirements. And so I don't understand, I guess maybe I'm naive, but I don't understand if that's already being required of properties that get county funds, which is affordable housing generally, why the building people are so concerned about, additional cost. I just don't get it. Maybe you can help me out here.
I would venture to say that the difference would be between a privately funded versus publicly funded would be, the privately funded developments, those developers are looking to make a profit, whereas the publicly funded are there to serve the purpose of providing affordable housing, and they're not necessarily making a profit because we're providing the gap financing.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I get that. So that's helpful.
And that's why I wonder if there's and we're not saying every house has to have universal design features, just making it an option.
I wonder if I wonder what amount of, I wonder, Amy, if you could ask them, the two people, how much additional cost would they think would be reasonable versus I mean, at what point does it get unreasonable? Does that make any sense? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Amy?
This is Mark. I think we understand what you're asking.
Okay.
As it relates to the cost. I think what the struggle is clearly defining the end result of what you want to accomplish as it relates to who's building or who's making the improvement to the home. I guess if you asking the private sector, for example, what it will cost compared to what it would cost if you're in a public entity of someone that's dealing with Amy as it relates to the enhancement of an existing structure, which is totally different than building something from the ground up. So you take
Right.
you take a private entity and say they have 4,000 square feet to work with by adding possibly universal design, you may not be able to have quote unquote 4 bedrooms or whatever because things have to be bigger or smaller and whatever. So you may end up having to go to 3. How does that impact the selling value of that home when you're talking a private construction component? Now, when you're talking about a public construction component, then of course you can set the master standard at a UD design standard and it's going to be the cost across the spectrum. So I guess what you're trying to arrive at is when you relate to cost is you have this private development that's plotted out 86 units, but that's based on one structural model, where you have this public entity that may be plotted out 50 units based on the structural model with UD design and how that cost breaks out. I think that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think the best you can get is to try to get an estimate of when you're talking about the UD design features, what are the basic ones that you really want to look at? And then have them give you some type of price component based on that. We're not talking about outlets being a certain height on the wall or things like that. We're talking about walls and hallways, ground level designs and things of that sort. And then maybe you can get a number on that of what the cost is from a basic foundation to a zero foundation. Maybe that can help you get to that type of cost where the cost may be a difference.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Have we lost Amy?
Okay, and this was not renovating existing homes. I think we were looking at new homes.
I know, but right, I know, but what you're asking with most of the money when you're talking about Amy, some of that money is to also do existing homes or existing structures. So when she's trying to do that, that's where I say it gets challenging. If you're only talking about brand new homes, that could be a little bit easier is what I'm thinking, because you can say, here are the features that I want to add and how much does that increase the price compared to a normal home. Because a builder is going to build to a specification model in the region wherever they're building. It's going to have one specification with maybe 3 different or 4 different design types, right? And they know what that is based on the size.
Right.
Now, when you want to add the UD features to that home, how much does that home cost more to add that UD feature because it's brand new? And I think that's what you're asking.
Right. That's what we're
Okay.
trying to find.
Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, Mark.
Okay.
Guys, pardon me if I may jump in for a second. Amy is still with us, but she said the system is telling her that her microphone is no longer working.
Okay. Okay. That Mark, is exactly the information we are looking for. And you would think that that would be easy to find out, but believe you me, it is not. It is difficult, but we are doing our best to get something that is based on fact and not just conjecture.
I have a question.
Yes, Josh.
Okay, these departments, they regulate home building as a result of, I mean, regardless, universal design, non-universal design, correct?
Is that the question to Mark? Mark can,
Well, yeah, it's to Mark, it's to Amy, it's to whoever wants to answer it.
Can you state your question again?
Sure. These departments that they regulate home building, you know, regardless of whether it's a universal design property or not, whether it's privately funded property or not. Correct?
They have some standards in place for certain things, correct?
Okay. Well then, maybe I'm at a loss, or maybe like Cheryl, maybe I'm naive. I'm under the impression that, you know, we and now we're an advisory body, we're not, you know, a legislative body by any means, but we can, as a county, can instruct home builders that this improves their opportunities at drawing in new customers who have elderly parents that live with them, who may have mobility issues. Maybe they've got a kid with special needs. So, you know, stuff like this that they ought to be, you know, asked about in a very, I mean, I'm not trying to be a butthead here. I'm not trying to, you know, make anybody angry. I'm just trying to get questions answered in that I don't see the pushback. I don't understand the pushback other than they don't want to do it. Am I wrong?
I guess I see your point. Yeah, when you look at it from there, yeah, this is Mark. I see your point. What I'm thinking is that when you're talking about private businesses or private development people to do those things, they have a demographic and a cost point of what they want to sell that product at, right? And so what the idea is like I said, they make those decisions based on the space they have to build and how many units they want to build. More so probably, from my understanding, more so than the outlook of saying this will appeal to more people across all demographics, right? So
Right.
what we have to try to figure out here is, are we really having a discussion really about nothing because the design features are not really impacting what you want to build in the first place? Or is it really cost prohibitive to do that? I never ran a construction company or design firm or whatever to plot out acreage of land and want to put units on it. So I'm not the subject matter expert in that. But I believe those are the questions to ask. And I think it goes back to, I can't think of, I think, Sheila, I think is, what is the extra cost? I mean, that's the basic principle we're talking about. Basically, two blank pieces of land. We want to put this on. What is the inherent cost for you to sell that property? Are you talking about $300,000 beforehand, and then if I put in UD, I'm going to go up $100,000? Or are you talking 300,000 is only go up 25,000 more because of UD design? I think at that point in time, $25,000 is probably not that much, right? So
Yeah, I would agree.
yeah, we don't know that. We don't know, and I think that's the number we if we're gonna push, I guess, in that sense, to get somebody to try to explain that to us. I think that is the right question to ask, is saying on a brand new construction, because when you're talking about updating existing buildings, that could be a little bit more challenging than a brand new blank slate, because most developers are building off a blank slate. So those are the questions we'll ask. We'll ask those questions and see if we can get an answer.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
thank you.
I will tell you that the little bit of information we're getting is it's less than $20,000. I just, you know, I just like to check this out with more than one builder though, which is what we're trying to do.
The only estimate that we got that was more than 20,000 came from one person, and they do custom.
Right.
And we know that custom building is not what we want to do because custom is not affordable. It's an arm and a leg.
I think we're not talking about custom building. What I would like, Mark, if that's okay, that if you could, Mark and Cheryl could, communicate by email at first and see what are the questions that we need to address, and what compromises we can work on.
Well, and that was another question, Linda, in regards to compromises. I think it'd be easier if you were to look at your 13 UD design features and look at what you are willing to compromise on. So there could be two ways to view that from the board. And like Amy said, they only have 2 people on that board right now. So, I mean, we could get 2 people's thoughts when there's supposed to be 7. So I just want to say that also. But yeah, if you all can look at that
And Mark,
13, yes.
I've got a question. So when you look at the building review commission that has the 2 members
Mm-hmm.
on it currently, that's supposed to have the 7 or 8 or based off the charter.
Mm-hmm.
What efforts have been done to try to locate new members or to figure out people that might be qualified to fill those positions?
I don't know. I don't have any information on that. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at the time, and Mark, if I have your permission as well as Mr. Hayes, that you communicate with Shara, and Amy could be part of that too if she's still on, to communicate with Shara your concerns, and she could take it to the commission's task force and see how we can address it. And what are the minimum features? But again, I think we're looking at we know that it's not going to be 100%, but we want something, a start with an option.
That sounds fair, Linda. And Amy is still on. Her mic isn't working.
I have a concern about, I mean, I think that would be perfectly reasonable for us to talk internally about things that are more important to us than others. But I don't want to go, I'd like to start high and let somebody else knock it down, not us.
And I agree. I agree. That's why I said you all start thinking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the first step is to get the number. This is Mark. I believe the first step is to get the number, to see if we can get a number
Okay.
that's consistent. And then if that proves to be a hindrance to UD, then we look at features.
Okay. Mark, let me get together in the next couple of days the information that I have, even though it's not everything that I want, and get that to you, and maybe we can start a discussion from there.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to the ADA coordinator report. I think all of you have received the annual report. We need, Carol, you can
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah, excuse me. So yes, I completed the annual report and sent you guys the draft of that, the tail end of last week. There every year, although I get much quicker doing these reports than I previously, but every year I kind of struggle with some of the wording on the tail end of the report. Let me see if I can get, hey, Matt Johnson.
Yes.
Oh no, if you make me presenter, then we can't see the, never mind. I was gonna have you make me the presenter so we can see the report, but I don't want to interfere with captioning. Sorry, never mind.
Okay.
So at the tail end of the report, so the basic of the report is, we have a letter to the Committee on Disabilities, then we have go through the meeting highlights, and then at the end, the last 2 pages, the titles throw me off, and I really struggle with what information to put in those areas. So I wanted to just bring this to your attention to see if we couldn't maybe look at a revision of the wording on those 2 sections at the end. It currently has accomplishments, 2021 accomplishments. That's on page 10. And then page 11 is looking ahead - recommendations. And so as I'm doing these reports, it's like, well, we took a look at our goals from last year. Well, where am I putting the goals? I guess I'll try to link the goals up in the accomplishments section, but that looking ahead recommendations, I don't know that says what we actually want. I mean, I would think we would more want, these are what our goals were for 2021. This is the progress. And these are going to be our goals for 2022. And just maybe by the change of those headings, maybe we can clear that, make it a little clearer to people. Because for me, every year, this is confusing. So just wanted to get some feedback from you all on that. Or if you care.
Let me ask you, this template, is this a template that's followed by other commissions? Or is this something that was developed in our commission only?
No, I'm presuming that it's, I can look into that, but I'm presuming it's just something you guys came up with. I mean, I've just followed the template that was passed on to me by Mike.
Right, and I think it's been the same since I've been on board. So, yeah, I struggle with that too, and I like what you say. I think we need to, these are our goals, and my thought is the outcome of those goals is what we accomplish, I hope. I don't know. Any other thoughts, commission members?
Well, I like keeping the word accomplishments to show what we've done, what we did over the past year. And well, I'm not sure I like the idea of the goals. I mean, what does it say now, Carol, instead of goals?
It says the first heading was the 2021 accomplishments. I'm all right with that. I mean, I can get my head around that. I know that's like, and what I tried to do is I looked at the goals that we came up with last year for 2021 and had an accomplishment for every goal. I linked those accomplishments to the goals. So I mean, I was good with that. I guess it's that wording of that second section, which says looking ahead - recommendations.
Oh, no, I think you should say 2022 goals or whatever
Okay.
feeling. But I also wanted to say on the accomplishments, I think we need to look a little bit beyond what our goals were, because some things might have been added. Like Luke, how we met with the people about the election stuff. That wasn't, I believe, a goal from last year, but it's something that we accomplished, that we met with them and they talked and whatever. I mean, so
some of our accomplishment may go beyond a goal.
the goal. Yeah.
Stated.
Thank you, Linda. That was a perfect way of saying it.
And so here are goals for 2022.
I would
in
say
21. this is what we accomplished. It may match the goal, it may not. Like one goal, we talked about something to do with employment. And I'm not sure that's an appropriate goal. I think it needs to be revised in that the ADA coordinator would be proactive in making sure that it's inclusive of people with disabilities in the county workforce, whether that's a once a year meeting about how to make your workforce inclusive. But we can't go outside of county and say, business ABC, you're hiring people with disability. That's not our authority. That's not our, we are
I
advisor.
think if I read that goal correctly, I think what it was saying was that in the minority business reporting stuff that is being done through the county currently under the Office of Diversity and Equity, which was one of Rita Daze's sort of picked up after Hazel Irby. That in those reporting requirements for the already sort of Black-owned businesses and the woman-owned businesses, that there'd be reporting requirements in that for the disabled. If I'm
And
reading that correctly.
that's why we need someone that, is it Jay Nelson, that we need to follow up on making sure that there is a person with a disability that serves on that board, and you can discuss having that. Now, remember, ADA is not a mandate. It's just gets you at the starting point of being employed. It doesn't say that companies are mandated to have.
Well, and then and I don't know, but Linda, that was the part of what you asked me to follow up. I know I got to follow up with Jay about the taxi cab commission, but I wasn't sure what you were wanting with the diversity and inclusion group. I didn't know. I don't know that I was aware that they had an actual board related to that. It's a section of the Department of Administration. But I wasn't aware that they actually had a board that they worked with as well, an advisory board.
Okay, I did not realize it was county staffing. So
Yes, it's a section of one of our departments.
okay, so that is where, if it's not a board, I go back to what Luke said. How can we establish that county is that something that county can explore in seeing what are the numbers, including people with disabilities in the workforce?
Yeah, I don't know what they do with that. I mean, anytime you're talking about trying to get numbers from employers in terms of how many people they have that have disabilities, that's going to be based on a voluntary what do I want to say?
No.
Yeah, people have to report that voluntarily. Employers are very restricted on asking information about that topic.
True. And you can volunteer, but they, self-identify themselves, and if they
Right.
choose not, that's their prerogative as well. But just that's one little additional layer of how to keep it in mind. Or, I don't know if they're being insinuative. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. So I guess going back, if it's Jay Nelson, just making sure that people with disability are included, and and whatever numbers you can get from people who are self-identifying. You can't.
Yeah.
Hold on, Linda. There is a director over diversity and inclusion. As a matter of fact, there are two that come to mind. This commission can call any of the directors throughout the county to come and listen to our concerns. And so if you would want one of those individuals or both to come before us at our next meeting, and we can lay out our concerns and our ask, that's doable.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Maybe we see, do we have something lined up for March or April?
No,
So we could line up someone in March from the director of diversity, equity, inclusion. Is that what it's called?
yes.
And I guess the inclusion part is always people with disabilities. So, yeah, that would be good.
I mean, we've had them before. I think it was in 2021. But I think it was more of a generic conversation about, hey, in your efforts, would you please include folks with disabilities? This feels like a more specific conversation that would warrant them to come a second time, don't you think?
Yes.
I would agree.
Who did we
Fine.
have before, Carol? I only remember Hazel Irby.
Well, she came once. I thought Kenny Murdoch came last year.
Now Carol, wasn't Hazel over the initiative at one time?
Hazel came one year, but I'm thinking that was in 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that we
Mark
must have
Holt.
had Kenny Murdoch. I'd have to go back and look. But I think we had Kenny Murdoch come in 2021. But it was more because Hazel had left. There was a change in that personnel. It was more to say, hey, don't forget about people with disabilities and what you're doing. But yeah, I think we can probably have more of a specific conversation with them. Mr. Hayes, do you want to invite them, or is that something you'd want me to do?
I'll take care of it.
Okay.
March, we have a date, or are you going to send that out to me?
Yeah, I'll send it out to you. I'll send you an email. I'll give you the March and the April date, and if you just let me know so that I can let the IT people know to include those folks in their invites, that'd be great.
Well, Carol, when I receive those emails from you, that will trigger my ask.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. I appreciate that, but we do need to
I'm done.
It's up about the annual report. So do we have a motion on if we want to change the title? Does anyone want to make a motion on that?
I move that we change the title to what it was we decided, whatever that was, though. That wording.
Okay.
The 2022 goals.
Yes, we would keep, the motion should read, we should keep the accomplishments for 21 and that we will have 2022 goals.
Okay.
And
I'll second Cheryl's motion.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Thank you. So we now got that taken care of.
Okay. I think I'm done for now.
Okay, I've lost my agenda. We're switching around. So I know we're into old business, and unless Cheryl thinks we need to discuss any more about the UD task force at the county commission level, we can move on if there's a report for older adults. So Cheryl, any update on UD?
I think I've said everything that we've been doing. I do know that Sue met with a person from Consort consort homes. And we do have some information on costs from them, and I've got some other myriad costs. It's just, I'm just really amazed at how difficult it is to get people from other entities to respond. I mean, I have called some other counties and cities multiple times. I don't know whether it's COVID or what it is, but Sue and I, at our last task force meeting, we were the only ones. We decided that we were going to just try to pursue this builder with the city of Bolingbrook, and then whatever we got, we would turn over at this point, because we just weren't getting anywhere with these other contacts that we were trying to make. So I'm gonna get Mark what I have now, and if I get anything more, hopefully this week, I will forward that on as well.
Hey, Cheryl,
Also, get with Sue to find out what she got from Consort.
Oh, I have that already. I have that.
Okay, all right. Any report from the Older Adult Commission update?
No, Sue didn't give me anything on that.
All right. Once again, new business, virtual testimony and extended time for public comment.
So one of the things that we know is that virtual testimony allows people to be places when they can't always get places, when they don't have transportation available, if they're homebound. And so oftentimes these voices aren't able to be heard if they want to attend a county meeting, because they aren't able to always get to the meeting because of either health issues or because of a lack of transportation. Currently, county does not have virtual testimony, with the exception of like a few weeks that they did because of COVID. And another thing that they also are lacking is sort of streamlining the process of applying for accommodations and extended time. Extended time is often a necessary accommodation for individuals, and it's process-wise is a little bit hard to get for multiple meetings.
Okay, when there's a public hearing or public meeting, isn't there a just like when someone needs an ASL interpreter, isn't there a number that says, if you need an accommodation, contact this number? And
It's for that meeting only. And so some people that attend multiple meetings that need the same accommodation every meeting.
okay.
It's complicated.
When you talk about multiple meetings, are you talking about going to county council meeting a bunch of times, or give me an example?
People that repeat, you know, I mean, that go maybe once a month or a couple times a month or once every few months. They have to call that number every time they go.
people who are civically minded and, you know, want to see how government works, pretty much, right, Luke?
Yeah. So if someone with a disability wants to attend the county meetings and they want to be involved more often,
Okay.
with UMSL, with my academic accommodations, I call one time, I get one letter. Those accommodations are in place every semester, every class I take. I no longer have to reapply for them. I no longer have to do anything more to ensure that I get them every time. And so streamlining the process so that it's a one-time application. Once someone's approved for them, there's some way that they can note, I have a prior approval and get the same accommodations at every meeting.
Carol or Mr. Hayes, do you have any suggestions?
I'll make I mean, let me verify that, Linda, you are correct. On the front of the agenda for the council meetings, there's a comment in there. If you need accommodations, contact Diane Valeni with her phone number and her email. I can see, I didn't know, I can see how we can easily do that in one meeting. I mean, let's just say Luke is requesting extended time. He would, I think the first time up he makes that arrangement, he needs to be clear with us that this is something he's going to want every time he attends, and we can easily retain that information. When you cross over, like if Luke's talking about once I have this accommodation in this meeting, then I also need it in the I don't even know, in the civil service commission meetings, that would get a little trickier just because you have different key county contacts for each different group. Although I guess you could use me as the backup, that I'm this single entity, to make sure that someone knows that they're going to need something in another meeting. We have not done it that way traditionally.
I can understand if Josh used the word someone who's civic minded, and you go to several meetings, to let them know that I plan to attend XYZ meeting in the month of April or the month of March, something like that, so they know that you're coming more than once during that month. If you're only coming, like Carol said, it would be kind of difficult with all the different meetings.
Although we do have, now that you're talking about, Linda, on the web page under the ADA information, we have a request for accommodation form. That form, you could easily put that in that form, that information, tell us where it's going. That form automatically comes to me. And then it would be on me to make the contacts with whomever the board county contacts are, and ensure that they understand what's needed, and that they're going to provide that every time this person.
So actually you would have two options. One, when you publicize a public meeting, the accommodation centers, contact Diane, did you say?
Yes, ma'am.
And call that number. And the other option, well, actually three options. You can contact online. As commission members, you could contact Carol yourself. But I think that's it for the public at large. Any kind of accommodation, you could complete the ADA accommodation form as needed.
Correct. And we had talked about making I don't even know if I included it. I'll have to go back and look in the report, in the annual report. But last meeting, we had talked about including that recommendation for virtual testimony in that, in the 2021 annual report, even though we're just bringing it, we're starting to have the conversations
Under the goals section.
Okay, that's where you want to put it, in the goals.
Yes.
Okay.
But I right now it seems like, if any of the commission members think they have a suggestion, that would be.
And maybe putting under a goal a option to streamline something for the requests for those that attend multiple.
it's streamlined by going online. You just do it now. You probably have to. Part of it is that you need to know what meetings that you're going to attend to, whether it's April 5th, 2022, June 5th. You need to, the other party has to know what dates they're coming to the meeting when they are requesting accommodation. That's the same thing for a ASL interpreter. They have to give the date and the time and what language they prefer. Some people prefer ASL, some people prefer straight English. So I don't know how the university is able to know you are in one, that you're able to go to one meeting to another. I don't know how they do
They
it.
send us a letter. They give us a letter of this is what you were approved, and every time we go, we just submit a copy of that letter.
Okay.
Like for my classes, they give us an instructor notification letter, and every semester I hand that letter to my professor.
See, that
So-
can be done at the beginning of the semester. I used to teach at so I would get a letter saying this student needed this accommodation. So every time they came, I knew I had to provide that.
Yeah, it gets trickier with us. We have no idea who in the public is going to attend what meeting and when. As opposed to a school schedule where you're registered for certain classes. I think, Luke, maybe what I can do is let me send you the link to the request for accommodation form and take a look at that. And if you had suggested changes to that,
Yeah.
I'm happy to consider those.
Send that to me. I'm just trying to think of ways that we can make this easier for folks that might not know everything that we know.
Okay, I will.
Okay, thank you, Luke, and thank you, Kara. Let's moving on to opportunity for social media coverage.
Yeah, Izzy was supposed to, Izzy works for the, I'm sorry, Elizabeth is what her proper name is. She works for Jay Nelson in that boards and commissions section, and she had asked for she had spoken to me, and then she spoke to Linda. She had emailed Linda about an opportunity to highlight this commission on social media. And she was supposed to attend today, and I had not heard from her, and she's not here. So I think probably what I can do, Linda, is I'll just follow up with her and see if she wants to come in the March meeting.
Also, she talked about a photo, and I'm not about to say it's okay to take a photo without permission from the commission members. So if she's got some type of form that you can send out to the commission members of giving their permission or not for a photo.
Okay.
Because I guess I'm a social worker. So social workers, we follow the HIPAA rules. So I know this is not quite the same, and we are a public meeting, but I still think it would be courteous to ask permission from the members if it's okay to have their photo taken. And it's kind of boring, we all sit here virtual. I don't know what kind of photos she's looking for. So,
Well, typically what they'll do, at least on Facebook, is they will they'll show a photo and then they'll have some narrative about, they often do it with county employees. They highlight county employees, but they're going to start doing it with boards and commissions. I think primarily for the reason of maybe in an effort to recruit additional members for where we have absences. But I'll follow up with her and see if she wants to, if she has a form and or if she's interested in attending March, since she didn't come today.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
There was something you said, I guess, if there's any other business, I will, if there's not any more business, I will adjourn the meeting.
No, Linda, I have another item.
Okay,
As of right now, and I'm not sure how the commission has handled openings, vacancies in the past. As of right now, about 15 members. I think we're down 3. I've spoken with Jay. He has 3 people, I believe, that have applied to fill those positions. And of course, we would match them up with the categories they would be responsible for holding seats on. How does the commission handle that relationship with Jay and the new potential members? How have you handled it in the past?
usually we try to recruit people, but if it's somebody we don't know, I've been notified who they may be.
Oh, okay, good, good, good.
I have been notified, and if you haven't heard me say, they really wanted representation from North County area, as well as it doesn't have to be a visible disability. It could be an invisible disability, such as epilepsy or, you know, we need to be as diverse as our population.
No, if you're already aware of all of this, I'm fine. I just wanted to bring, because I was discussing other commissions with him, and I touched base, because someone sent me that now we're down 3. And I wanted you to know that I did reach out. So if you're comfortable with that, I'm fine.
I'm okay. And I could just match, making sure the person has a disability. We also need representation from an agency that serves people with disabilities.
Yeah,
So
I'm looking at it. We have 15 members, 8 shall be individuals with disabilities, 4 shall be individuals who have a family member with a disability, and 2 members shall be individuals representing agencies which serve persons with disabilities. So if you're aware of it, I'm fine. I was just sort of reporting out what I knew. So I'll just wait to hear more from you, Linda.
Do we know who these people are, Linda? Does anybody know them?
I haven't seen the names. What I'm saying, in the past, I have been notified, but this time around, I haven't received anything.
Okay.
Okay.
I think they might still be in the vetting process.
I mean, do we get a say about this or no? I don't know I don't remember how it works.
See, that's why I'm asking. I don't know how you've handled that relationship in the past.
I think what's happened, I mean, we got the 4 new members the start of 2021. I think what happens is the county executive office makes the selection and informs us. I think that's how it was before. I did just look, out of those 3 vacancies, 2 have to be individuals with disabilities, and the 3rd is that agency representative.
Okay.
Yes, in the past, it was about the relationship you had with the county executive his office. So, I'm open to the process as long as we are abiding by what we have in I guess it would be the audience or rules of the commission.
Yeah, it's an ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Stephanie,
yes, Stephanie.
I know that you had asked me to talk to Mandy, and I did, and she is interested. So
Yeah, please encourage Mandy if it's not.
yeah, I did talk to her, and she is interested. So
Well, have her
Stephanie,
apply.
yeah, Stephanie, I can send you the link to the application.
Please do that way. I can send it on to her.
Okay, and just so I know, because sometimes they ask me, well, you can just send it back to me in an email. I just ask what her last name is. We can do it via email.
Okay.
Mandy could be she could. I mean, she is a person with a disability, but Mandy could also be a
she's also with
representation of
us.
agency. Because doesn't Mandy live out in St. Charles?
Not anymore. She after she got the job at
Oh, Rehabilitation
RSB on
Service for the Blind.
Page. Right. She lives in the county.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, either one, she could fit either position. I think that's what Steve Chanel did. He represented the agency, but he was also a person with a disability.
Yeah. And Linda, you may just want to reach out to Jay. You know, the county executive appoints, but the county council confirms them.
Right.
So it's a two-step process.
Yeah. Usually what happens as soon as I'm going, I can send an email to Jay about Mandy. And
Okay. Yeah. Because I think you guys are right. They're in process. They have some applications that they're looking at. But I think from our chair just weighing in, that would be appropriate, just to touch base with Jay.
okay. Thank you. Anything else? I don't see or hear anything. So happy Valentine's Day. I'm calling to adjourn the meeting and see you
Happy
in March.
Valentine's Day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
See ya.